A solitary miscalculation, a heartbeat out of sync, and this Israeli F-35i Adir vanishes not into the sea, but into the folds of quantum silence. The tether that binds this moment to survival? Precision, secrecy, and ghost-like coordination. At precisely 02:13 hours, beneath an obsidian canopy that swallows even sunlight, two pairs of F-35i Adir 5th-generation stealth fighters rise from Nevatim Air Base. Their electromagnetic signature is not dimmed, it is erased. These are not jets. They are thoughts darting across the void, shaped by code, shielded by a skin of nano-sculpted absorbent polymers. They skim the Red Sea at 120 feet closer to breath and wave. Not flying, but skimming like digital phantoms. Every motion is a whisper, every wake a myth. They thread themselves through radar voids and gravity wells, a maneuver not flown but predicted, pre-calculated by quantum edge onboard AI, constantly rewriting possible futures in microseconds. By 02:17, they slip under Tyran Island's radar canopy, passing not through detection zones but around their assumptions. Their flight control software, derived from adaptive learning neural cores, reconfigures control surfaces on the fly, bending physics with coded instinct. Their lead pilot is not flying in the traditional sense, he is thinking, and the Adir obeys. Through the Elbit System's Gen 4 AR visor, terrain folds, radar beams, and threat vectors overlay the real world in spectral detail. His vision is filtered through three-dimensional battlespace models updated in real time via satellite relay, drone swarm relays, and predictive combat modeling. At 02:29 hours, 260 kilometers south of Sharm el-Sheikh, the flight banks southwest. Their exhaust is cooled, masked by asymmetric heat dissipation grids. Even the sound what little escapes the stealth nacelles is absorbed into the sun's own hum. If the air itself could whisper, it would murmur Adir. The F-35i is no upgraded platform. It is a singularity, a convergence of man, machine, and algorithm. Internally rerouted electronics, Israeli augmented mission systems, and an onboard AI known simply as Keshet feed the pilot a distilled version of the war yet to come. At 02:38 hours, at the edge of the Eritrean air buffer, the Adirs ascend silently. Not a climb in elevation, vertical and serene. At 25,000 feet, a shape flickers into awareness on their HUDs. KC-707. Syrup 6, a ghostly guardian from another era, lingers in orbit. The rendezvous is not visual, it is anticipated. Data-linked handshakes complete before eyes confirm. Each Adir connects with a click not heard but felt. Fuel flows, encrypted telemetry pulses. Keshet calculates refueling vectors to the 4th decimal. The pilots rest their hands on controls, but there is no strain. Their focus is within. Heart rate, breathing, even iris dilation monitored and balanced by the aircraft itself. Then, the tremor. At 02:51 hours, a ping. Iranian-linked radar, a broad Soviet-era sweep. Not a threat? Not yet, but Keshet flags it. Models the arc. Countermeasures arm, not to jam but to confuse. The Adir doesn't blind radars, it gaslights them. Within seconds, another signal-active fire control radar. The Adirs drop to 1,000 feet in coordinated silence. Heat sinks pulse. EM signature collapses. The Adirs phase out. The ELL-8251 pod, a next-gen electronic warfare suite, doesn't emit, it deceives. It sends fractured ghost images, false returns, duplicated velocities, cloned echoes that contradict themselves. The enemy radar sees a ballet of contradictions, blips that accelerate backwards, targets that split mid-air, altitudes that dissolve. At 03:04 hours, they arrive. 30 kilometers northwest of Sanaa. No terrain to shield them, now only speed, stealth, and misdirection. Their HUDs flicker as Keshet synchronizes with orbital reconnaissance, layering fresh satellite imagery onto the desert floor. Confirmed targets: mobile Shahed 136 drone carriers, radar units, a subterranean command node. Acquire. the lead whispers, voice swallowed by his helmet. On screen, the targets shimmer with tags and predictive escape arcs. Their Rampage 2 stealth cruise missiles, upgraded for Adir internal bays, ignite in eerie silence. They don't scream, they disappear into the dark. They strike like divine math. Explosions roll not in thunder, but in brilliance. EMP bursts lace the air, neutralizing backup comms. The command bunker's roof doesn't cave, it simply ceases to be. Then a howl. SA-6 radar locks. 2 missiles launch, proximity-coded, closing at Mach 2.5. But this is not 1975. The Adirs scatter not chaotically, but algorithmically. One climbs near vertical, vectoring thrust. The others dive and jink, deploying optical cloaks, a passive countermeasure that bends even the visible spectrum under edge-light panels. The missiles lose their minds. One veers left, hunting a ghost echo. The second detonates 800 meters above the sea, faked into detonation by a timed false signal burst. At 0313, the Adirs regroup. Engines low, skins cool, data uplinks live. No chatter on comms. Only the rhythmic pulse of life support sensors monitoring every heartbeat. They fade back across the Red Sea like an idea half-remembered. The raid lasted minutes. But for the pilots, each emerged marked, not by fire, but by the knowledge that they moved unseen, unheard, untouched. Because sometimes the most devastating strike isn't one that can be heard. It's one that was never believed to exist at all.